have seen within the last 24 hours that the UK economy has shrunk for the second month in a row, whereas the growth that Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves are talking about. And in a Talk exclusive, we have figures today that show that 609 Channel migrants arrived in the UK yesterday on 9 separate small boats. It's the highest number on record during the winter months, according to our own analysis of our boffins behind the scenes. It takes the total number of migrants who have arrived under Labour across the Channel to 21,008. The total number in 2024 has reached 34,582. That's the highest, second highest, I should say, since records began. And it comes just a week, of course, after we remember Keir Starmer in his long and slightly rambling speech talking about clamping down on illegal migration. He said he would make it a milestone in his plan for change. And we revealed yesterday as well on the station that only 37 people have actually been deported to Pakistan. Well, let's talk to Robert Bates now. He is from the Centre for Migration Control. He's the research director there. Robert, unfortunately, I don't know about you, but I'm just not surprised that 609 people arrived in the UK yesterday in 9 small boats. I know it's the highest number on record during the winter months, but this just keeps happening, and there doesn't seem to be a plan for change here, or if there is one, it doesn't seem to be working. What do you think?
Well, look, traditionally, it shouldn't be happening. It is December, and as we all know, the flows of people crossing the Channel should be abating during these winter months. Clearly, that is not the case. And we have to ask ourselves, why are these people now, in the deepest, darkest months of the year, prepared to make this crossing? And I think we have to look at the pull factors that the Labour government, since entering office, have been extending to those that are breaking into our country. We now know that there are plans afoot to massively increase the legal aid bill to help those people with asylum claims. We know that they're expediting asylum applications and wading through many in what is effectively an amnesty. We know that they're extending the use of hotels again, despite promising during the general election that they would be ending that phenomenon. So what the Labour government have done since entering office is talked a lot about smashing the gangs, and that has effectively amounted to popping a few dinghies over in Bulgaria and talking with German and Italian politicians. But they actually have not put in a plan in place to stop the flows. And unfortunately, there is nothing on the horizon that would suggest this will abate in any way, shape or form.
There doesn't seem to be any deterrent either. The Rwanda plan is something that Labour strongly disagreed with. Many people from many different perspectives disagreed with it. Some thought it would work, but at least it was a form of deterrent. There doesn't seem to be any deterrent now. Maybe I'm missing something, Robert.
No, well, if you are, I'm missing it as well, because from what I can make out, there is absolutely nothing to dissuade these people at the moment. You know, even the new head of the Border Command, recently appointed, has said that we need something to dissuade these people from making the crossing, because for as long as we remain the soft touch of Europe, and let's be clear, we are now increasingly an outlier in how we approach this issue. Increasingly on the continent, countries are taking more and more strident measures. So long as we remain this soft touch, people are going to think it is worth the risk. You know, even if there's a small chance of them being deported, we now know that it is incredibly unlikely under the Labour government that it will take place in any huge scale. The figures that Talk put out yesterday, you know, a few dozen people being deported back to Pakistan. You know, that's what we would consider a safe country. It should be relatively easy for us to deport all those that have come into the UK illegally from Pakistan back to that country of origin. But the fact that we're doing so in such small numbers suggests that there is not a comprehensive package in place to remove those that have entered the country illegally. Yvette Cooper talks a good talk about removing 14,000 people, but, you know, estimates suggest that we have over 1 million people here illegally that really have no right to be here. So 14,000 is really a drop in the ocean, as it were.
Robert, there is a lot of change politically in France. In fact, as we speak, the handover ceremony is happening between arrogant windbag Michel Barnier, who has been unceremoniously dumped as the French Prime Minister, and our thoughts and prayers are with him, and Francois Bayrou, who is taking over. Do you think, given the instability there in regards especially to President Macron as well, that there could be any hope that the French will pull their finger out and do their job correctly, what we pay them over £500 million of our taxpayers' money to do, to stop the boats leaving the coast on the west of France in the first place?
No, there won't be. Europe is increasingly fragmenting international approaches on this issue. I think the idea of them working across the board with one another on a continental basis is looking increasingly unlikely. Unfortunately, we don't seem to have picked up the message on this side of the channel. We still hear that the solution lies in these forms of international cooperation in terms of working with the French, working with those upstream of the migrant flows. Unfortunately, that isn't the answer to this problem. The answer to this problem is in our own hands. It rests entirely within our own ability. It requires us to get strong, to stop bending the knee to, arcane international organisations, and to be prepared to leave the ECHR and to take a much more strident measure on those that are here illegally, and to actually start talking about deportations. It's not something that the Labour government seem particularly keen to talk about. Obviously, they put out the odd press release here and there about removing a few people to Brazil, but on the scale that we need, there is no chance that the Labour government are going to move to that position because they don't like talking about it. They feel uncomfortable talking about it.
But Robert, it's a milestone. I mean, surely if it's a milestone, that means it's all going to be fine. What did you make of what Keir Starmer said last week? Is there any plan here? Did you think, right, okay, we've had the manifesto, we've had 5 months of chat, now we've got the milestone, it's all going to be fine?
Well, if you look at what was actually promised during the election and then look at the delivery that took place over the 5 months after the election, you realise that the words aren't really matching the deeds. Of course, Keir Starmer realises that the Tories ultimately took the hammering that they did because they failed to grip with this issue, and is therefore begrudgingly forced to talk about it. I don't think he has any real conviction behind what he's saying on this issue. It is effectively what we used to term when Tory Prime Ministers would talk about it. It's a bit of red meat. It's to show the British public that he recognises it is a problem. The risk is, of course, that through all this guff and all this talk that the Labour Party are talking about, and all these plans and these grand schemes that are being put in place, we do lose sight of the fact that they are failing, and it is important to keep pulling them out for failing. And I think the numbers like that we've seen today are indicative of a Labour government, a Labour Party that have not appreciated how to actually tackle this issue, and it is really going to catch up with them over the coming months. And we know who is going to ultimately profit from that, and it's Nigel Farage and the Reform Party.
Robert, thank you very much indeed for that. That's Robert Bates there, who is the Research Director for the Centre for Migration.